Hi.
Hi, Jamie.
Doing Hi, how are you?
Hey, doing really well. How are you?
Good. Um, I'm gonna just give a little bit about Jennifer. She is gonna be talking about a seven-figure business while traveling. So, like Chris said, it's something we kind of all strive for and want to work for, just the time free time. And so she's gonna kind of go over that. Um, so a little bit about Jennifer. Jennifer is the founder and CEO of Agents Invest. She helps real estate agents close more deals while working fewer hours. So Jennifer has 250 units under management and sold 150 million in real estate last year just through referral transactions. So thank you so much for joining us, and go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I am so excited to be chatting with you guys today. And I can't wait to watch all the replays. I've been in a Tony Robbins virtual event all day. So I just caught some of Chris's presentation, but I can't wait to watch the replays. Sounds like really, really great info. So as Jamie had mentioned, my name is Jennifer Beatles. I'm originally from Seattle, Washington. However, I'm now living in Phoenix. I was able to build a pretty big investor business in Seattle. However, I didn't want to stay in that market. The winter weather is terrible. It rains 9 months out of the year. And so, like many of you guys, I started kind of on the residential real estate side and then had to figure out how to build a location independent business while still staying in real estate. And so that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. So I'm going to pull up my presentation here. So as Jamie had mentioned, yeah, I've really, kind of had to figure out how to build this business that allowed me to be location independent. But I didn't always start there. So I'm going to kind of share with you guys a little bit of my background to this story. But my first question is, how many of you, let's be honest, put your comments in the chat, how many of you spend more time in your business than you do with your family? I have certainly been there. I would say the majority of the time in business, I've actually spent more time in the business than with my family. Not today. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but go ahead and share in the chat. If that's you, if that's your reality right now, let us know. Next question is, how many of you got into this business to have financial freedom? That was truly my number one reason for getting into real estate sales is I wanted to achieve financial freedom. And so I wanted to have the freedom, with time and with money to set my own hours, to work when I wanted to, and also to have the unlimited income potential that we all have in working with real estate and real estate sales. So let us know in the comment, is that one of the reasons why you got into the business? And then the third question is, how many of you would like to own a business that operates regardless of if you show up or not? Let us know in the comments. This, again, was something that I really, really wanted in my business. I didn't quite know the how yet, but I wanted to figure out how I could create monthly recurring revenue and essentially work with a few amount of clients every year that purchased multiple properties, right? But I didn't want to have to be there in order to have the income produce, have the business producing an income. So again, I'm going to kind of share with you guys how I did that and some framework that you can implement and start implementing in your own business. All right, so a little bit about my backstory. I became a licensed real estate agent during the worst housing market in history. So, as mentioned, I come from Seattle, Washington. Seattle is about 2 years behind every other market in the country. And so the recession didn't really hit us until I would say about 2009. And so that's when I got in. I got licensed in May of 2009 when everything was either a short sale or a foreclosure. I think it was 18 months in the business before I actually sold an equity sale where the seller wasn't a short sale or wasn't a bank. And then I was working 7 days a week, 10 to 12-hour days. And I quickly became the top agent in my brokerage, which was fantastic. But this all came at a price. So the price is by 2016, I was earning more than I had ever imagined was possible. However, my relationships were failing and I was absolutely miserable. I remember feeling like on one hand, a great success. I was the top agent. I had, multiple projects going. I was flipping houses. I was building houses. I had this real estate sales business that was making a ton of money. But again, deep down, I felt like something was missing. I felt like I'm earning all this money and I'm, working all these hours, but I didn't have that time and the freedom, which was the why for getting into the business in the first place. So if you're there right now, if you're feeling this pain in the business, maybe you're highly productive as an agent, maybe you're earning a fantastic income and you're doing a lot of things, but you're feeling like you don't have that freedom with time and money that you want, let us know in the comments. Let's be, honest and transparent with each other. This is a brand new year. This is a great time to get real about where you're at with your life and where you're at with your business so that we can start to break down some of these issues and challenges and rebuild anew. All right, so fast forward to today. I don't know where my little picture is, but I own two highly profitable, scalable businesses, and I work about 20 hours a week. And when I say work, to me, it really doesn't feel like work. I absolutely love what I do. I show up with energy and excitement, not the burnout that I had experienced just a few years ago, because I have a greater impact. Last year, we earned seven figures in annual revenue. This is from our real estate sales business, which was absolutely incredible. This had far surpassed what I had done in previous years from just the real estate sales side. But the thing that's remarkable and really what I want to convey to you guys was that I was traveling the entirety of 2021 full time with my family. And so we visited 22 states and we visited 9 countries in 2021 while doing all of this. So I want to kind of give you guys some how and some tips and tricks that I've learned along the way of my 14 years here in business on how I was able to pivot a business that was completely location dependent, which meant that I had to be there to show up every day in order to bring money in, and then also just some feedback on how you guys can implement this. All right, so the number one question that you're all probably thinking is, how do you pivot from operator to business owner? Again, the difference is the operator has to show up and operate the business in order for revenue to come in. The business owner does not have to show up, does not have to, trade time for money. The business owner owns systems and processes that drive revenue and that essentially, runs the business. So first thing I want to point out is get rid of the tyranny of how. Right. So when you're asking yourself these how questions, which is essentially how I had been previously operating my businesses, a lot of times you get stuck, right? You get stuck in either analysis paralysis or trying to figure out how to get yourself out of the situations. And I would advise you, and actually the difference that made all the difference for me was instead of asking how, ask who, right? Who do I need inside of my world that can help me get to the next level? Who can help me scale this business? Who can help me go from location dependent to location independent? I'm going to share with you a little bit of a visual framework here. I really focused on 3 different things, and this is true for any business, right? So as mentioned, I'm in 2 businesses, and also, kind of implement this in both businesses. But really, where the magic happens is when you can couple hiring great talent with their creation of systems and processes inside of a scalable business model. That's really where the magic happens. That's where, that's how I was able to travel full time all last year, really kind of show up to the business when I wanted to, and really kind of get us to this next level, right? So I'm going to break down each one and give you guys some tips and tricks. So hire great talent. So if you're just an individual agent right now, that is absolutely fine. We all start somewhere. I was an individual agent to begin with. And the very first hire that I made was a transaction coordinator. Now, we all know that there's third-party transaction coordinators that you don't necessarily have to hire as a full-time salaried employee in your business. This can be a person that gets paid at closing. This can be somebody that, again, is paid per transaction. So you don't have a lot of initial upfront costs associated with this, right? I believe that every single agent should be working with a transaction coordinator because you want to focus on income producing activities as opposed to all of the admin work and all of the things that go into selling real estate, right? So, number one, everyone in 2022 or this month, get yourself a transaction coordinator. Now, from there, my next hire recommendation would be getting a strong admin team, right? So, hiring an executive assistant, somebody that can manage the back end of the business while you're scaling up. And in order to attract and find this great talent, you need to have a compelling reason why you're in business, right? You need to know what kinds of clients do you serve? What is your value proposition to these clients? And exactly where are you going with the business, right? Talent, it wants to be attracted to talent, right? And you are the first talent, right? And so you really though have to know where you're going, the compelling vision, why, the direction of the business, and start bringing these people in as the revenue scales up. I also tend to hire before the growth, right? So I can anticipate and do a lot of planning in Q4, usually of the prior year for next year, and really start making those hires in Q1, which is what we're in right now. So again, everyone get yourself a transaction coordinator. That transaction coordinator should get you to at least 4 to 6 transactions a month. And then once you're consistently hitting that, then you're going to need that admin, right? And building a team around you so that you can be focusing on that income producing activity. Once you've got your talent, then this talent and this team creates systems and documents your processes, right? So, who has done something that feels like you do it? It's the same, either answering questions or the same kind of tasks time and time again, right? And then you realize that I'm doing the same thing, but we don't have a system or a process behind it. An example of that would be you go under contract with the client and they ask you for a list of home inspectors, maybe insurance agents, maybe they're asking for lenders. A recommendation would be to take those things that you're doing, that you do time and time again, and create them into a system and process. So now when clients go under contract, we have a vendor list that's in the cloud that they get a link to where they can get access to all of these different vendors, right? Home inspectors, insurance agents, moving companies, right? Contractors, painters, things like that. So anything that we're finding ourselves doing at least more than once, we're creating a system and a process behind that. Again, that's not something you would need to do. This is something that your team can help you do. All right. And then number 3 is a scalable business model. So, as mentioned, I was flipping houses, I was building houses, and I was working with a lot of clients on the residential side. And what I found is that, flipping houses, it can be a scalable business if you build an entire team around that, right? So you don't necessarily have to show up to do everything. But you have to build a team, right? So you have to have people that are going to be managing these projects and doing all of these things. I didn't want to build a large flipping business, so I decided not to go into that model, right? Instead, I found the opportunity in continuing to focus on my investor clients. What I realized is my investor clients, I could work with, maybe 20 clients a year that would purchase 5 to 7 properties each, right? And so for me, that was a very scalable business model. And I went all in working with investors. I knew if I could put out great content for working with investors, bringing investors in, and kind of just really scale that, then I could work with fewer clients, have less budget for advertising, and then also just again continue to work with the same clients and close multiple deals. So for me, that was obviously, if you're on here, if you're in this summit, then it's likely that you either are already working with investors or you're an investor agent yourself. So maybe you already have that scalable business model. You just need to fill in the pieces of getting that great talent who can create systems and processes for you. Things such as the way you send deals to your investor clients. We send, I would say, a couple of hundred deals every single month to our investor clients. And we use a system called Airtable. So essentially, we put the information in about a property. We email one link out to all of our clients so they can see all of the properties available and then click and make offers based on that. right? So that's a system and process that has allowed us to close a lot of transactions every single month because, again, it was necessary. Otherwise, anytime we find ourselves kind of hitting that ceiling of achievement in the business, we noticed that we were either missing a great talent, right? A great team member, or we need to really beef up our systems and processes. So I want to leave plenty of time for Q&A, but I want to remind you guys that there's two ways to build wealth. Number one is own a business. Again, as a residential real estate agent, most of us own a job, right? And so the focus needs to be, how can I move from operator to business owner? How can I build systems and processes and have great team members that are operating and running the business for me so that you can be location independent, right? Or you're not working 7 days a week, right? Simple little things can start with there. Number two is obviously investing in real estate. So as you guys are building and scaling your businesses, you should be taking a good portion of that commission income and investing it into passive income properties, right? So taking that commission income, investing it into either apartments or, value add multifamily, or even, 1 to 4 unit properties, but start investing in real estate. That's the second business that I own, right? Is I have a rental portfolio, personal rental portfolio of over 200 units, 250 units. And it's all because the business allows me the income to have the income to build this rental portfolio. All right, so I want to give you guys a quick tool. So for those that are interested in understanding how to analyze deals and how to identify if a rental property makes sense, I have a free calculator. It's a deal analysis calculator. You guys can download it and start to, run deals through it, see if deals make sense. You can also, we have a lot of agents that are using our calculator to pitch deals to investor clients, right? And close more investor opportunities, by putting the numbers in front of the investors. So agentsinvest.com /free calculator. We're also always looking for referral agents. So agents that we can refer our investor clients to in markets where there's cash flowing properties. So if you'd like to apply to become a referral partner, it's a free program. There's no fee to join. We're looking for experienced investor agents who want to work with more clients, especially out-of-state investor clients. We'd love to have a conversation and see if it would be a fit. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and then just see if we have any questions.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jennifer. It was funny. Just a little plug on the referral network. I think it was you actually posted about Waco, something about Waco, Texas. It was some lead there, and that's where I'm from. I mean, I don't really like to brag about that part, but I was like, I don't know anything about Waco real estate anymore. But in any case, I was like, interesting. So, yeah, I have a question, and if anyone else has any questions, definitely put them in the chat. We got a couple minutes here. Most realtors will go their whole career and never own a single property outside of their primary residence, and for the more successful ones, maybe a vacation home. Why is that? But they will also say they're interested in investing. They want to invest, but they don't. Why?
Yeah, I've asked myself that question for years, right? I mean, guys, we have like insider information to these deals, right? So the way I look at it, as every listing opportunity, every opportunity that comes in front of me, it should always be, first question is, do I want to buy this? And then if no, then it's okay, I'm going to pitch it to an investor, right? I'm going to find a buyer for the deal. But why agents don't or why not many agents don't invest in real estate. I think part of it is also the finances, right? I think agents need to do a better job of preparing themselves to invest. And then I think the other thing is, I think a lot of agents are just running around busy operating their business. And so we hear a lot of times they say, I'd love to do that. I just don't have the time, right? Which is exactly the reason why they should be investing in real estate. They should be investing in real estate so that they can free up their time, right? And have an exit strategy. My exit strategy from day one was, I'm going to use my real estate commission as the vehicle to use to invest, right? So that at any point I can step away and say, I don't want to sell real estate anymore because I have this huge portfolio that pays all my bills, right? And it's interesting, I'm there, but I just love the game so much. I love real
Yeah.
estate so much that of course I'm still here. But
And
yeah,
you can
really,
equate that so
Mhm.
when we're talking realtors, which they make their money through commissions, but that is directly comparable to flips. Like if you're out there
Yeah,
flipping, you're out there
yeah,
wholesaling. Because Jamie and I fell into that trap. We flipped 200 or so houses. That sounds really cool, and we made a lot of money doing that. Um, but at the end of the day, we're in the trenches day in, day
yeah,
out. We've got flips and projects and back payments and like managing all this stuff. And then eventually it gets to a point where like, man, we kind of have to do this to
yeah.
pay for everything, and then we don't
Mhm.
have the time to do all this other stuff. So I mean, it wasn't easy, but in the beginning, I mean, it gets easier over time. Same thing for the realtor doing the commission thing.
Yep.
Do that, but find a way to find that first deal. It's pretty amazing the transformation that goes afterwards, that happens afterwards.
Well, absolutely. And then also think about all of the clients that you'll attract if you're buying your own deals and sharing that. Right. And so we find that a lot of the more deals that I was doing personally, I was attracting some big investors. Right. And they were saying things like, wow, I don't find many agents that invest in real estate. So therefore, I want to work with you because you know what you're doing, right? You understand how to calculate cap rate. You understand cash on cash. You understand what rental rates are,
Yeah.
right? And so it really actually helped me. And it was interesting because I saw the opportunity to learn from my investor clients. And so I'm like, wow, I get to earn more commission income, learn from my investor clients, and then take that and apply it into my own rental portfolio. I mean,
You're getting
you couldn't ask for a
paid
better
to
business.
learn from
100%.
experienced people.
100%. And then it was really interesting because, so I should back up. In the very beginning, when I got my license, I didn't have a whole lot of money, right? But I knew that I wanted to work with investor clients, and so I just became a deal hound. I was just great at finding really good deals, and then a lot of times investors had approached me and said, "Do you want to partner?" And then that was really interesting because I found myself, finding the deals, kind of bringing in my contractor and things like that. And I was partnering 50-50 with investors. And so, we were flipping houses. And again, I had no money into the deal. It was all the investors' money. All I had to do was find the deal. I got listings out of it, right? I got other potential buyers from these listings. And so it's a difference in mindset, right? And so again, I think a lot of agents are so focused on how can I find more clients? How can I, get my business cards to look a certain way? How can I perfect my website? And really, all of those things don't really matter, right? It's all about how can you create more value? How can you build a business today that is a business that's going to be scalable in the long term, right? I also believe that when you're building a business, you have to be thinking about your eventual exit strategy, right?
Mhm.
Because it makes you think differently about how you'll be building it. It's not just about you, it's about how can I create and own a system and process that again generates revenue, and you don't have to be there for every little step of the way in order for that revenue to come in. And I
Yeah,
think
Jamie and I
that
talked
really
about
trips.
that in our book that's coming up. Every decision has to be with long-term thought. Like you got to think
Absolutely.
long-term. Now, short-term decisions are important. Things come up, especially if you're flipping houses. Things come up, and sometimes that's at the expense of a long-term plan. But you got to always think long-term. Take care of the short-term problems as they come up. Get back to long-term. Like do it. And so we did have a question. I'm gonna bring it up in just a second. But one final thought is, realtors out there dealing with clients all day. Like, the stress that can come with some clients, but how would you like to be your number one client? Your own number one client. You're probably not going to frustrate yourself as much as some do. So, John asked, gave you some major kudos. Tony Robbins, did that spark any change?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was a significant change for me. Again, I think when we're at an inflection point in our life, a lot of times I focus on the who. And I'm trying to remember, I think at some point somebody had mentioned that they had gone to a Tony Robbins event, and I'm not a raw person, right? I'm very like analytical driven, like, okay, I just want to get in and get business done. And I remember I attended a Tony Robbins event, and the first thing, it was like the 30 minutes was dancing. And it was like, go hug your neighbor, high five. I'm like, what did I sign up for? But there was so much that I gathered from that, which was really to kind of go back, focus on, the reason why you're in business, right? Why are you in business? What values do you bring to the table? What's the long-term benefit to you also and to your clients of operating this business? And then the next was, okay, so how can you manage the business you're in and start building the business you want to be in? And that kind of journey led me to this discovery of I don't actually have a business, right? I was a self-employed person. I owned a job. I didn't own a business. And so for years, I had this kind of false reality of thinking that I owned a business when really, again, I just had a lot of job titles.
Yep.
I had like acquisitions, flipper, even the way that we operated our rental portfolio, my husband and I did everything. And I mean, I feel so blessed because my husband was able to retire at 30 years old and be the primary caregiver for our daughter when she was born in 2014. But he created another job for himself, right? As he was our handyman. He did everything with our rental properties, and we just had no time and freedom. And I had an inflection point. This was just prior to going to Tony Robbins when it was my daughter's first birthday, and we were in Hawaii. And we were getting ready to go to the beach, to go surfing for the day and just kind of have some downtime. And I had a deal come in, and I was stuck on the phone in the condo all day negotiating this deal. And my husband came back and he said, look, something has to change. Your, daughter's first birthday, you've built this business to have this like life of freedom and abundance. And yet we couldn't spend the day with you.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, I need a who in my life. And the who for me was Tony Robbins and his organization. And it made all the difference.
Love it. Yeah. So Brant, who spoke earlier, he's in the same mastermind you're in with Tony. So, and I know you were having that session today, and he had mentioned it too. And so maybe y'all two can connect. But I've yet to go to the one Tony event I was supposed to go to last year. I ended up getting like COVID. Like,
Yeah, you got
literally,
COVID.
I was waiting for it for 2 years because in 2020 it was planned, but then it got canceled because of COVID.
Yep.
So 2021 it happens, and mine gets canceled because I get COVID. In any case, and then I'm seeing all the Facebook feeds and all this stuff. I'm like, oh man, I so wish I could go there. So yeah,
It's definitely on the bucket list.
we're definitely going to try to make the Unleash the Power. I think it's this November.
Amazing.
So cool.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Appreciate your thoughts here and for sharing everything. And look forward to connecting with you again soon.
My pleasure.
Thanks so much.
Take care.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.